It's the first week of September, so you know what that means? Do you remember? That's right, market update. Stick around. Hi, welcome back. My name's Joe Brown. I'm a realtor with Century 21 List with Beggins, located in South Tampa. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So, if you've been with me, you know the first week of the month, I always do a market update for the previous month. Now, today happens to be September 2nd. So, a lot of the activity, not a lot, some of the activity that happened in August still isn't in the system. So, the numbers I'm going to share aren't exact, but they're pretty close because we're not looking at exact numbers, we're looking at trends. So I just wanted to put that out there. Also, just as a reminder, I do offer different guides. There's a home buyer's guide, a home seller's guide. Then there's a special guide based on my background in education called the Educated Move Approach Guide, really helping people who are thinking about selling their house. What are the steps you're going to take, right? So those guides are there. Just send me an email. My email's in the show notes below, or visit my website. Shoot me an email. I'll be glad to send you those guides. Okay. So also, just the caveat, right? I'm talking about the 5 zip codes of South Tampa. So we have 33606, 609, 611, 616, and 629. Those 5 zip codes. And I'll put up here, as usual, the handy-dandy chart, just so we can see the 2-month comparison, just to see how we're doing. So take a look at active listings. So active listings are up slightly, right, by 10. So we're up to 527. That's good, and I'll talk about this in a little bit too, but inventory is going up because if you remember just a few months ago, maybe January, December, something like that, we were at 200 homes on the market, or just under 200. But keep in mind, if we go back to, 2018, 2019, we were at 1,500 homes on the market. So we're still down from that point. We're up from 7 months ago, 8 months ago. But that's a good trend, and I'll talk about why that's a good trend. Look at new homes on the market, right? And we see this has increased too, up to 276. If you've been with me before, you'll remember I talked about average, right? So going back the past several years, the average new homes on the market each month is around 250, right? It's like a roller coaster, it goes up and down, but the average is 250. So when you hear talk about, the market's slowing down, not so much for sellers, because we're still at that average number of people listing their homes. Now, that whole comment about the market slowing down, look at here, the average days to contract. Yeah, that's gone up. It's almost doubled, right? From 15 up to 26 days. That goes back to more inventory on the market. And again, I'm going to talk about all that in just a little bit, right? So, but let me just do a segue here. When I was a principal and I would look at data, I don't look at data for data's sake, right? You look at data because how do you respond to the data? What is the data trying to tell you, and how do you respond to it? So yes, I'm sharing data, but then I want to go deeper into what it means, right? Look here at sales, right? And sales has gone down. You can see almost 40 homes from 202 to 160. So more homes, less homes being sold actually adds to more inventory on the market. Median sales price, we went from 655 to 631. That may just be a blip, it's still within that range of the mid 600s. And that is for all South Tampa, right? You look at 33629 and their average home is over $1 million. So that 631 is an average. Here's something interesting. Look at the ratio of the closed price to the list price, right? That's what this ratio looks at. What the home sold for as opposed to what it was listed for. And last year we were well over 100%. We were like 102, 104, in some cases 107, 108. Well, now this is the first month in maybe a year and a half we're actually below 100%. We were at 98%, 98.5% of lists. Now, don't take that to mean you can go in and everybody's going to accept less than list price, right? So that's the way averages work, right? So if somebody buys a home at 98.5, that means, or at 95, somebody's offering 100. So hopefully you understand that. I know what I'm saying, right? If you have questions, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to share it with you. Here's another statistic I want to share with you. It's not in this chart, but it's pendings, right? So this chart looks at sales, what has sold, what has closed. But just in August, how many homes are pending that haven't closed yet? And that is 167 homes. So why do I want to share this with you? Because there are still buyers out there, right? There's still buyer demand. Listen, but people will argue with me saying, Joe, there's not buyer demand. Well, there is buyer demand. If you look at the number of sales, we've sold 160 homes this past month. And on top of that, we have 167 homes that are pending. That means buyers have put contracts in on homes. So there is buyer demand. But if you recall, when I talked about active homes on the market and the days to contract has slowed down and why that's a good thing, it's a good thing for buyers, right? So if you were a buyer recently, let's say within the last month, you really did not have time to think. A home went on the market, you went to see it, you had to make a decision quickly about whether you wanted to put an offer in, what you wanted that offer to be, if you're going to offer over asking price, if you're going to waive appraisal contingent, right? You had a lot of decisions to make because it was a buying frenzy. Well, things have slowed down, which is a good thing for buyers because buyers now can relax. They can look at a home and they may have some time to think about it, right? So that's a good thing. Sellers are having to adjust their asking price. So again, and I talked about this on a previous video, that sellers really didn't know what buyers were willing to pay for their house. So a seller may say, I want $400,000 for my house, then this buying frenzy, and somebody buys it for $450,000. So now sellers are saying, okay, I want $450,000 for my house. Well, people aren't willing to pay $450,000 for it now. So they're going to reduce the price, right? Bring the price down. And in fact, just this past week, I told you today is September 2nd. Maybe not when you're watching this, when I'm recording this, September 2nd. In the past week, there were just south of Tampa, 58 homes on the market had price reductions. So think about that. We have 527 homes actively on the market. So 10% of those had price reduction. And the average price reduction is 3%. And again, sellers do that. You price the home. If buyers aren't interested in the home at that price, they reduce the price, and they may reduce the price again to try and generate interest. So that's what we're seeing. Average of 3%, 58 homes had price reduction just in South Tampa. So I wrote this down. Months of inventory, right? So we talk about absorption rate. How much inventory is on the market? And you do that by looking at the number of homes on the market divided by number of homes being sold per month. So in this case, 527 homes on the market. We sold 160. So we're over 3 months, right? Now, if you go back to a year ago, we were under a month. We were at 3 weeks. So we've built up to 3 months. But on the continuum from 0 months to 1 year, a seller's market is, we're coming out of a very strong seller's market, but it's 0 to 3 to 4 months is seller's market. A balanced market is somewhere around 5, 6, 7 months. And then get beyond 7 months and you're into a buyer's market. And that's when you see home prices decreasing, right? Because there are more sellers out there than there are buyers. That's right. There's more sellers, there's more inventory than there are buyers. We are still in a seller's market. In a seller's market, you're going to see home prices continue to accelerate, continue to increase. I read a report today that home prices have only gone up 0.5% from July to August. Well, they had been going up 2% a month. 24% a year. Well, what is 0.5% per month? Well, that's 6% a year. So if I told you could put $100,000 in the bank and get 6% on it, is that a good deal? Yeah, that's a good deal. I would do that, right? So that's what that 0.5%. The price acceleration is not expanding as fast as it has been. And people say, oh, market's going to crash. It's not going to crash. We are still in a seller's market. It's just going to take longer for some homes to sell, right? And remember what I've said. There's a price for every home. Once you factor in the location of the house and the condition of the house, right, there's a price for every home. The question is whether the seller is willing to accept that price. So, a lot of consideration. This is good for buyers, right? It's still a good time for sellers. Now, what I want you to do is come back, first of all, next week, because I have a very exciting episode next week, really dedicated towards buyers. And so if you're a buyer or you have friends or family who are thinking about buying a home, you absolutely want to watch next week's episode. And then my market update next month, I will look at the quarterly. I'll look at the third quarter along with the first 3 quarters of the year just to see the trends we're seeing overall in the market. Listen, I love sharing this information with you. I thank you for being patient with me because I haven't recorded a video in a few weeks. I had some family matters I had to deal with, so thank you for your patience there. If you have questions, if you have comments, please leave them below. Shoot me an email. I want to be your trusted advisor. And I hope over these videos, I've earned your trust. So please shoot me an email. Let me see if I can help you. And then I talked about 270 people put their home on the market this month. If you're considering it or you know somebody who's considering it, please refer them to me. Let's sit down and talk. That doesn't mean they have to use me as an agent. Hopefully they will, but just to get more information, right? So I love sharing this information with you because South Tampa, Florida living is awesome.